Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the Anfield Index Podcast. It's episode 335 and I didn't need any prompting for that from Lisa Marie, which is weird in and of itself. I am Trev Downey. I'm podcasting to you from my very hot field here in beautiful rural Ireland. It's more beautiful than usual. It's balmy. It's oppressively hot to some. I'm on my second podcast back to back in a room where I can't open a frickin' window because there are cattle and tractors. And I can't put on a fan because it will upset your ears. So consider, if you will, the great sacrifice being made for you to bring you the Anfield Index podcast, on which I am joined by Karl Coppack and by Lisa Marie Hanahan. And I'm going to finish the introduction in a minute with a little clip from a AIP regular, almost the new spirit animal of the show, Tommy Tiernan, and it's going to set up something that's going to be a feature towards the end of the show, just to get away from football at the very end. But first I want to get an idea of how Lisa Marie and Karl have been getting on over the course of the week, and if they have anything themselves to begin the show with. So let's get straight to it and begin with our friend from across the big pond there, Lisa Marie. How are you getting on this week, and have you got anything to begin with?
I'm getting along fine this week. Thank you, Trev. And we do appreciate your sacrifice for the quality of the show. Fantastic. So, yes. So one of my projects, they start the monthly meeting and the contractor does what they call a safety moment or a safety share. And so I thought this might be helpful for some of our own listeners. So I've got a couple of quick ones that are, I guess, related to the opening day match. The first is just stay off social media during and after the match. Just for your own well-being and peace of mind. Don't do it, especially the Bird app. Be a recommendation. And then the other one is more for myself. As we spoke, that I had to tune in quite early last Saturday, and it would be in my best interest the next time there's an early kickoff to just go ahead and get the coffee machine all set up before I go to bed the night before, so that all I basically have to do is hit the on button and not be scrambling around and trying to do it while I'm trying to get the feed started on the match and everything else. Just do myself a favor and just go ahead and get it all set up. So all I have to do is push start, and it will brew my pot of coffee, more peacefully for me. So that's what I have to start this morning. Just a couple of safety shares for all our listeners.
Safety shares. I do like this. It's very 2022, if you don't mind me saying so. And also, of course, a little bit of self-care with the coffee thing. And yes, solid advice, probably in general, is to stay off that bloody thing. I would love to do less of it. I'm really been weaning myself off a lot over recent years. I will glance at it too much still, but not interact as much. And certainly over the last 3-4 years, I've trained myself to not even compose those tweets, which I will then delete before sending. Now I just roll my eyes and go, whatever.
Yes,
whatever.
Don't tweet angry. Never
tweet angry. Don't go to bed on a tweet. And so on. Fantastic.
So anyway, we'll see. This might become a regular thing. No promises, but
see. Safety shares. I like it. Okay,
safety
great.
Share.
Karl Coppack, what's the general mood in East Anglia?
Well, firstly, I should say the social media thing. I mean, I'm guilty of this, but I've learned a lesson, and the lesson is don't engage.
Yes, also
engage. Block immediately, mute immediately. Don't try and argue.
That mute feature is helpful.
Yeah, and what you don't want to do is tweet something incendiary like, tell you what, Henderson's better than Naby, isn't he? I'm off to the beach and my phone's on silent. Bye. Because I just thought everyone's going to think he's just thrown that in and he's going off to the beach and having a nice time, and no one's going to reply, yeah, they did.
Oh, of course they did.
Of course they fucking did. No, he's not actually, because I think you'll find the stats say, yeah, okay. I think Richard Herring always talks about starting a Twitter account called That's the Joke, when someone repeats the purpose of a joke back to you again. Yeah, I know. That's the joke.
Happened to me today, man. Happened to me today. Really? I did this thinly veiled discussion on how I was in discussions to buy a Merc G-Wagon, but insiders have said that it'll likely be next summer, and so on and so forth. It could not have been more obvious. And I got a couple of fellas coming back at me going, that's a shit car. Someone else said, but think about the environment. I swear to God, it was just went right over the counts of so many people. So fair play. You just, if you throw something out there that's bait in any way, it will be nibbled at.
You can't even be light-hearted or sarcastic. So I said that. So I play in Man versus Fat here, I tweeted that I'm going to we're playing tomorrow, and I'm just gonna and I added him. I said I've just asked James Pearce if he's bought anyone for us for tomorrow's game, which James very pleasantly liked. It's very nice of him. And of course, I've already started to get well, he's not the journalist people thought he was. Like, it's up to him. Yeah, well, again, that's the joke. I might just start hashtag that's the joke.
My God. But anyway, you had something for us.
Someone needs to invent a. Okay, yes.
Yeah, a nuance button would be quite nice. I tried to sort of hide. I had a little giggle there. Sorry, Lisa Marie, I do apologise for that. Because there's something on my screen which I've actually had to turn off because it makes me laugh so much. Regular listeners to this show that will know that both Trev and I are obsessed with the programme Toast of London. Yes. Which, if you don't know it, is a sitcom starring the great Matt Berry, and who's an actor. And every now and then there's a scene where he reels off a list of actors' names who are doing well or doing poorly or are dead or something like that. And I found a list of them, and I literally can't read it without laughing.
Oh, it's so good. Is this the list that he sort of recites at one stage?
All the greats have been there, Trev.
Yes,
Kate Whiteneck, Blair Toast. It's and there's 116 of them. My favourite so far. And it's really difficult because I just lose it completely. Colin Graveyard is an absolute favourite. Duncan Clench. Dwight Difference. Rob Continental. Norris Flipjack. Dinky Frinkbuster. Colin Graveyard. Pookie Hook, who of course he briefly goes out with. Axel Jacklin. Daz Klondike. And, oh man, what about this? Tycoon Lancaster.
Yeah. I do believe I played a clip of him going through.
Elvis Pakistani.
Say again.
Elvis Pakistani.
Yeah, you're not beating Colin Graveyard though. That's amazing.
I might just throw it. So the thing is, and there's ones that genuinely put Bob Monkhouse. You don't know who Bob Monkhouse is. It's very close to Suki Houseboat. And Parker Pipe. What I might do is I might just throw 3 names in randomly throughout the podcast if that's okay. Trevor, Fanny, cackling. I'm actually going to have to look off the screen because I just can't concentrate going through them. Colin Graveyard. Tremendous.
I think that's great. Every so often you just pipe up one of those every so often.
Well, apparently, because that's what he does. But he does it with Graham, not the other one, Arthur from Father Ted.
Yeah.
Matthews. And he said he'll just be sort of sitting there. He'll just think of one. He'll just send a WhatsApp message with just the name on it. And I might start doing that with you if I think of one. To be honest, I used to work with someone called Tracy Bracegirdle, which is always fun because brace and girdle mean the same thing.
We have our county sheriff is named Dusty Rhodes.
Oh
wow!
I swear to God.
That was a makey uppy DJ name on Atlantic 252 when I was a kid. Really? That's
Swear, Dusty Rhodes.
Wow. Okay, I am going to wrap this up for the introduction with a bit of, like I say, new podcast spirit animal, Tommy Tiernan, and he's talking about how I've been listening to an awful lot recently. I keep meeting people, and it's bloody fantastic, this country. You walk past people and you don't know them, but they just kind of wince at you these days, and they just wince at you and go, someday, or they'll just sort of shout over at some lad they half recognize across the road about, that's beer garden weather. And that's basically all people can do. They're obsessed. We are obsessed with the weather, and we are not cut out for sun. But Tommy reckons we're not cut out for civilization, and civilization and culture is going to form the basis of our little quiz at the end. So here's Tommy.
I don't think civilization suits Irish people.
Actually, I'm going to cut in here and say that this is not safe for work. Get your children away from the podcast.
I think we'll give it a lash, but we know it's not fucking working out. There's a reason we live on an island, off the mainland. It's like when European civilization was being put together, the Irish said, come on to fuck, lads. Let's get as far away from this shit as we possibly can. If you think about it, Europe is the town. England is the halting site. This is the ditch. And there's only one thing to do in the ditch, lads. Lay low. Lay fucking low. I was in Killorglin, County Kerry, a few weeks ago, just before the Puck Fair. Wild goat, taken off the mountain, put on top, 40 foot of scaffolding. That's what you call a fucking festival. He just does nothing and he's just there. It's fantastic because it inspires you to do different shit. And I think in a weird way, that's our Statue of Liberty. There should be one of them at every fucking airport in the country. A goat on 40 foot of fucking scaffolding. What the fuck has civilization ever brought to Ireland? Traffic lights, shopping centres, stuff to put manners on you or fucking distract you. Stuff that comes out of us and we're left alone. Much more wonderful, unpredictable. Halloween. We invented Halloween. Hanahan, where for one night only, the gates of the underworld are open and the dead come up to mix with the living, going round from
shit
submarines. We invented
sorry
Hanahan,
back again,
where for one night only the gates of the underworld are open and the dead come up to mix with the living, going round from house to house, eating sweets. Dead fuckers love sweets. Submarines. We invented the submarine. A boat. For under the water. That's where the crack is at. Any cunt can float like. We've more in common with places like Cuba and Iceland than we do with Switzerland or Belgium. Mad bastards of Iceland who told the World Bank to fuck off. Stuff we could only dream about, they fucking did it. All 8 of them stood on a dead seal and went, fuck off.
Anyway, there he is.
Tremendous. What a man.
Setting us up nicely, I think, for a chat.
Fantastic.
You know, I thought we needed the levity, and as it turns out, you guys both brought it anyway, because, you know, as already referenced, there has been one of those weeks where you kind of question, don't you, a little bit what you're at in terms of the way you spend your time, because you see even people who you'd often have time for saying things that rub you the wrong way, and then you realise you should get out of the way of that stuff a bit and not engage with it. As Karl's already said, there's been a lot over the week, a lot predictable stuff, and it all arose out of the fact that we didn't do a win. Now, I want to get both of your takes on the fact that we didn't do a win. And as we always do, I want you to give me your takeaway story or your takeaway feature from the game. If you want to look at a good one and a bad one, that's fine. If you don't want to look at either, that's fine. If you want to look at something neutral, that's fine. But I do want to get something from you that you took away, that was your sort of what was left with you afterwards. And to get the ball rolling, for me, the obvious one to go with would be something like, I'm really excited to see what Darwin's going to do, and that's a very valid one. But what I was left with at the end was, I think we had almost solved the problem. I don't think enough attention has been paid to this. I think we had solved the problem, and I think we had wrested away momentum from the opposition with the substitutes that we made. And I think it was going in that direction when all of a sudden a 1 in 1,000 game event, which is Virgil doing something stupid, cost us that momentum. And to me, that's all there is to it. And then we kind of fought back again. But the reason why I think we didn't go on to win that game was just that sort of freakish event of the Virgil van Dijk decision to hang a leg in when it wasn't best advised. So that was what I took away with me, was that, you know, I think on 90% of occasions we're going away from that going, Jesus, we were shit in the first half, but we really pulled it out. That was a decent win in the end. So that's what I took away from the game. And as a result, I think I'm far more upbeat than most people. I'm looking forward to seeing us with a bit of the residue of a sore kick in the arse sort of impacting the performance against Crystal Palace on Monday night. I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait for that game at Anfield so that we can get to see what we hoped we would see on the open day this season. Maybe I'm being an optimistic idiot, but Karl Coppack, let me start with you. What was your big takeaway from the game?
James Milner playing centre midfield, and which is his natural position, which of course he can't get in there because there are better midfielders or young and better midfielders than him. And he'd normally come on and play a full-back role and kick a few people in the air. But he had time this time due to necessity. And what really struck me was he calmed everything down straight away, because heads were going all over. Fabinho will never play that poorly ever again in his life if he tried. The other two went much better, obviously. The centre halves couldn't stop passing it to their players. We couldn't get a ball into their half at any point. And he just came on and said, right, I'm going to go here. You go there. You go there. I will boss this part of the game. And that's when I think the game started to turn. And to be honest, I think we go on to win that game if it wasn't for Virgil's mind melt. And you can't blame him for that, because he's got us out of stuff. So, I mean, to be honest, when that situation was occurring and he's 1-to-1 with Mitrovic, I just thought Mitrovic has got no chance, because he's brilliant. One thing Virgil's really good at is just saying, what are you going to do with that? I'm going to show you to a side that you're not going to like, and I'm going to take the ball off you. And he didn't today. Last week. But I think if he did that scenario 100 times, he come up with a corner at best, probably just take the ball off him. And it didn't happen that time. And we've spoke about this before, Trev, about what happens when Liverpool don't do well. And to be honest, as disappointing as it was, and don't for a second think I wasn't screaming at my telly shouting, just fucking pass it to one of ours this time. there is nothing wrong with a bit of humility. I like that the manager got mad. I like that the manager looked at himself as well. Because we let the occasion and just we let the occasion get to us. Bearing in mind we'd just beaten probably the best team in Europe a week earlier, face to face, mano a mano, and we beat them by 3-1. And we looked fit, we looked sharp, and Fulham, that first half, we just didn't want to be in the ground. We didn't want to know. And that is really concerning for Jurgen Klopp. But what it also means is that he knows it's there and he can fix it. And I trust him to fix it. But I think that all stems from James Milner turning around and saying, okay, everyone's just shut up and do this. And that's what he did.
I'm glad you went there because I felt a little bit bad after doing Raw that I hadn't spent longer on Milner's contribution. Because it was easier to see the flashier ones. Harvey Elliott played a couple of lovely passes, and obviously the new boy comes on and does a madness, albeit a little bit fortunate. I keep pointing that out to people. But Milner was outrageously good in what he did. It's not said often enough when he is good, and he does come on in full back positions and have a similar sort of impact, but when he can do that little stint in midfield and do progressive passing and as you said, a little bit of intelligence that you build up over the years, I think it's great. You don't want to be relying on that is the point that an awful lot of people who are going mad about transfers are making, and I think it's a solid point, but we have it. It's a tool that we can use, and like you said, we're unlikely to see Virgil do that again. We're unlikely to see Fabinho be that bad. We're unlikely to be unfortunate enough to lose players as quality as Thiago, who himself had a ropey enough beginning to the match. Yeah. So if let's just lean into the fact that hopefully it's a blip until it's not. And Lisa Marie, with that sort of takeaway from Karl and from myself, where are you going to bring us down the positivity train, or are you a little bit more irked by what happened?
Well, distance can be a wonderful thing. If we were having this chat maybe on Monday, I probably would still be a little more in the irked column. But I was also thinking about it as we've often talked about, I don't have the same longevity in following the team as you both do. So therefore don't have as much to but it didn't feel like an opening day match for some reason to me. I don't know. I can't really put my finger on why. Maybe it was just I really and truly expected them to start just with a bang, especially coming off of the win against Manchester City. I just expected them to start, just house of fire kind of thing. And again, it was just weird to watch for the first, 10, 15 minutes. I'm like, what is going on? Can we at least get to the other half of the field, please? I mean, what's wrong with these guys? And so it was just kind of weird from that aspect, but I'm like, okay, they're going to wake up, they're going to turn this around. And I think you're right. Both of you, that if we hadn't had that penalty against us, I do think we would have ended up winning the game because we were turning it in the right direction. So I think there are a lot of positives overall to take from it. It was one of those matches where it felt like anything that could go wrong did go wrong a little bit. You had the Thiago injury, you had Virgil making, an unusual error for him. It was just, nobody playing their best there at the beginning. It was just a weird one. And you're right, Karl. I hadn't really thought so much about the Milner contribution, but I absolutely agree with you. And that's not just because I generally love James Milner, but we did need kind of a grown up on the field, in that leadership role to kind of take it and go, okay, you do this, you do that. And let's get our act together and push forward. So, but we don't want to have to depend on that every time. So, but no, overall, I'm kind of glad it's done. And I'm hoping that they've taken a lot from that poor performance and they're now going to do what I was really hoping they would do this week and just go.
I am surprised that you didn't use the last 5 minutes to simply say nice things about Harvey Elliott, who today signed
He did. Well, I try
new
not to sound
contract.
too much like a bragging mother, Trev.
Yeah, but this is your time. This is
my time. I am very proud of Harvey signing a new contract. Harvey was definitely one of the bright spots, coming on. I mean, no, he wasn't absolutely brilliant, but he did a lot right. And that's probably a good thing, because it looks like we're going to be relying on him quite a bit for, say, the next month or so, because as I'm sure we're going to get into, we don't have a lot of options for midfield right now. And so Harvey's likely to get a lot of playing time. So hopefully the combination of, being one of the better options or better players on Saturday's match, as well as his new contract that will hopefully keep him around forever. So I can continue to be proud and brag on him.
And long may that last and continue. And we should just talk about the elephant in the room then immediately. Let's just do that so that we get your take on it. It's not as if it's not the topic that's being discussed on every street corner and podcast and video blog and article, but we should give our tuppence worth on it. Some people probably have an inclination where I'm going, because I've been on a few of these things at this stage over the last few days. But I do want to hear what you guys think. We've mentioned the injury to Thiago. We're being told it's 6 weeks. We have the very big reality, don't we, that could be, and probably will be, a little bit longer than that, because we tend to downplay these things. But regardless, it's a sizable chunk of our season and a sizable chunk of time to be absent our best footballing midfielder. With the Curtis Jones injury, Karl, in the reckoning as well, and the fact that Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, who realistically probably would have been transferred if he hadn't picked up that injury, but he is now, because he wasn't transferred, he is now a squad member and an unavailable one. So people are starting to say this angle from Kloppo about we've plenty of midfielders. I don't understand this nonsense, this thing that he threw out at press conferences, which I kind of admire. It's partially guff, but I kind of admire it because he's looking after his lads. But people are starting to say that's wearing a bit thin now, because look at who's left now. You've got Jordan Henderson, who has been injury prone. You've got Naby Keita, who is not exactly a robust individual. Fabinho, who does tend to miss 8 or 10 games a season. It's not great, man. It's not great. And I have tremendous amounts of sympathy with people who find themselves losing the plot and getting excited about how we need to get a midfielder. I don't go that far myself, but I'm also not one of these trust the system people, because to me, on its face, it's patently obvious that we need to strengthen that area. Does that offend you, or are you in vague agreement, or what do you think about all that?
Well, firstly, let me say Hercule Razzmatazz, Kenton Schweppes, and possibly the best of all, Vic Titbull.
Tremendous.
The midfield thing is weird. The problem if Liverpool didn't buy a midfielder, I would think it a bit odd, but that would tell me that there's no midfielder they want out there. We don't want to be in a situation like Man United, who are basically just going through a phone directory with the word strikers written on it at the moment and ringing people randomly. We can't just buy a midfielder because we need a midfielder. I know that sounds completely bizarre, but that's not the way that this manager and his transfer team work. They'll have people lined up. I think they'll be okay, to be honest, because he's been here before, he's done it before, and if he believes that he's got the players to do it, I trust him to do that. I think it's a real shame about Chamberlain, to be honest. I think this, if this was the situation and he wasn't injured, I think we get a run out of games and maybe get him back at his best, because at his best, he's a player. He really is. And but we're not going to buy a midfielder for the sake of buying a midfielder just because we need one, and that is the reality of this. I think when he says, and this happens to the journalists a lot as well, when he says, no, we're not doing anything else, that can change in half an hour because someone could say, wouldn't mind if move to Liverpool. Oh, really? Think back as far as Nick Barmby, Trev. Liverpool weren't in for Nick Barmby in the slightest until Nick Barmby said, wouldn't mind playing for Liverpool. And then suddenly hell breaks loose and he crosses the park. Unless we've got someone in mind, then I don't think we're going to get anyone immediately. And if you look at the options, I mean, the Thiago thing's horrible. And, you know, Jordan's getting on. James and Millie's getting on. I don't think Kaiser's played 10 consecutive games for us. So it is a concern. But we have been, I mean, it's hard because last time we had an injury crisis, it cost us a defence of our title when all of the centre-backs got injured, literally all of them, including the ones who were midfielders who were playing at centre-back. So I'd like someone to come in, but what I don't want is a name, if you know what I mean, just a bloke with the number 73 on his back, suddenly bossing Liverpool's midfield. I think as he proved with Van Dijk when he couldn't get him the first time and he waited rather than buy again. I think he's happy to wait.
You see, the issue I have with that, and I'll bring you in on this one as well, Lisa Marie, so I get a take from both of you. The issue I have with that is, as a fan who's desperately impatient for this wonderful squad and wonderful manager, to have a collection of trophies that's reflective of their ability and doesn't always have to come with the fucking caveat of, oh, well, yeah, we were up against Manchester City, so that's why we didn't win so many trophies. Actually, screw that. Let's win the freaking trophies. Why can't we? We've proven we can do it against them. So I really want us going all out. And I'm halfway, therefore, between, well, look, we've got nothing but examples of why we should absolutely have faith in the system that's being put to work at our club. And also, the other half of me is saying, but it's as clear as the nose in your face. As you were going through that list of players there, Karl, and talking about the various extents of their ability to perform and stay fit, it's screaming to me that we're going to really struggle if we don't get in someone. Now, there's a problem, Lisa Marie. It's been labelled the dickhead test, hasn't it? Where Klopp always says it has to be the right lad. It has to be the right fella. Not just the right ability, but the right fella to come in to the culture of the club. And whether people like that or not, I think that's a really, really important thing that he's done, that he's brought with him. And I'm so fond of it that I'm almost willing to sacrifice a lot for it. What's your take on the accusation that it would be almost neglectful to not address a situation that's pretty glaringly troubling?
I mean, I think neglectful is very strong. I mean, I know people are speaking from, I guess, sort of an emotional place when they say stuff like that. You know, the management, the owners, everyone, they want us to win stuff too. I mean, this isn't a hobby. But I agree with the culture and everything that's been put into place. What you've just said, what Karl said before you, that, we don't just want to get a warm body in there just so we can say, here you go. Here's somebody that can stand in the midfield. I mean, it doesn't serve the proper purpose if it's not someone who works in our system, is going to get along with the rest of the team. All those different things that we've all admired about our, transfer process. So yeah, I mean, and we don't know. We've got 3 weeks before the window closes. There could be stuff going on behind the scenes that has been in place, that they've been working toward. We don't know. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm very torn. I think that's kind of why I'm tired of talking about it, because I feel like my mind keeps going in circles every time I think about it, where I certainly want the individuals, to help make this team succeed. But on the other hand, the more, I guess, practical part of me understands, and I've said this, the last several times we've talked about just transfers in general, is I don't want us to sign somebody just for the sake of signing somebody. I want us to sign the right person, the right person that, it's not going to do us any good to sign somebody that, it would take 6 months for them to get up to speed to be able to play the way we do. But if we can sign somebody that can walk in and, pull on that shirt for Monday's game, and I know I'm exaggerating because it is Thursday, but that's what we want. We want somebody that at this point in time, that's what we need, is somebody that can walk into the team and play, like Fabinho did a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm just torn. I want us to win stuff, and I want us to have the players that allow us to win stuff. But on the other hand, I think calling it negligent or neglectful or whatever is kind of going a bit overboard, because, it's just one of those things. Yes, we know Thiago is susceptible to injuries. Who would have thought it happened the opening day? Who would have thought whatever, happened to Curtis and Ox with the preseason games, would keep them out for long term, being able to be available for the first part of the season. It just is what it is. And I think we've just got to trust in the manager to do the best that he can with the resources he's got and stand behind the team.
We've got 8 midfielders and 3 of them are injured.
Yeah, but the problem is that the 5 that remain, when you start picking them apart, you can see that they're going to miss chunks of time as well.
Right.
And that's where the issue lies,
Exactly.
as opposed to, we've got 5 really durable, robust youngsters. We don't.
Yeah, we don't have like 5 Andy Robertsons that, can play 95% of the games of the season.
Exactly that. It's just the profile of people who are in there.
Yeah.
Exactly. Someone indestructible like a Salah or a Suarez. We just don't have those types, and that's really the issue. The kind of guy, actually, ironically, for a guy who gets so much abuse, the kind of guy that Jordan Henderson was, Karl, when we came close to the title in 13-14. That real sort of, live wire ball of energy. In everyone's face all the time, and loads of ability and really progressive. That's kind of what we need. Ironically, of course, you could say that his injury was really as much of a reason for anything as
it was just sending off.
Slips and everything else, his sending off. Yeah, exactly. His unavailability, rather, for the end of that season or for a couple of those games was probably as central as the whole Slippy G bullshit. But anyway, I digress. I just wanted to get
one thing you may not have considered.
What's that?
I read before. Defender in midfield.
Say again.
A defender in midfield. Or Firmino playing deep, or Konate moving into the middle. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I've seen it suggested.
Well, Konate's injured right now too.
Yeah, I know, but it's not a big one, is it? It's not.
I heard somebody suggest something like that before, perhaps Joel as a 6, or I saw Bobby as an 8, and honestly, the Bobby we saw at the weekend, I don't know if he's going to be doing much business as an 8. He's really gonna have to up his performance levels. Look, you know what? I'm glad we got a chance to talk, because I knew what I get from you guys was honesty. I knew you also wouldn't go down heavily one side or the other. And for me, that's where sanity lives, is in the conversation that we've just had, which is like, Lisa Marie can say, well, I think you're being a bit strong there with neglectful, Trev, but I get where you're going. That's an adult conversation. It would be lovely if we could have more of those amongst ourselves in the various internet spaces, but maybe that's a pipe dream. What I do want to do is keep the focus on the team and look forward to our next outing. We have 2 games back to back now. We have an Anfield outing on Monday night, and then the following Monday night we have an away trip, and the 2 teams are Crystal Palace and Manchester United. And I'm just trying to think, it's possible we'll have had a show before the United game. We'll get one in. But I just wanted to get a feel from you about how you think that's going to go, and if there's anything specific you've been thinking about them. I don't mean I want you to have great in-depth knowledge about Crystal Palace for me, but I'm thinking more in terms of being very Liverpool-centric and how you think we respond. Because I thought we were going to start the season by giving poor Fulham a bit of a slapping. And I think the absolute shock of what we endured in that first half, where we were made to look not amateurish as such, but really, really out of condition and poor by high energy, decent touch and skill level by the opposition. One big barrel of a central striker carrying the ball from his own half, knocking lads over and popping up at the back post and converting penalties. It was a little bit embarrassing on many levels, I would imagine, for many of our squad. And I would think, Karl, when they're watching stuff back, which we know they do, there won't so much have been finger pointing as that can't happen again, lads, type of conversations. And I would back this particular group to come back with a lot of bounce. And I also think we may see the first start for Darwin Núñez. What are your feelings about Monday night?
One last one, Richard Chicken Toss.
Me.
Okay, Dwight difference, and you can have Sol Commotion and Duncan Clench in there too. But I will stop now. I'm actually closing that page. Yeah, I think he will start, and I do think he'll start. And the great thing about football as a player, well, not that I am one, but is that games are never run over into the next one. I don't think they will be saying, that can't happen again. I think that's going to be, you had a bit of a mare. Yes, so did I. Jesus. And I think that's the end of the discussion because they're good players. It's not something that happens all the time. There'll always be a game where someone looks around and says, I don't know what's happened here. This is just weird. The Villa 7-2 game, for example, I have no idea how we lost that game. The 6-1 against Stoke, where everything they did flew in. Charlie Adam whacking in 25-yard volleys and things. I don't think it will be a reaction to it, but I don't think it'll be a concern because you get games like that and we just weren't on it. And all that happens from that is this team will now be on it. And I would expect the Palace game, I'd like that Palace game to be won by half-time. Couple of goals up, and then just keep the ball and rest for United. That's what I'd like to see happen. And I think Núñez will start. I think Firmino is going to play this season just because, Klopp's already said, he's vital for us. He won't play as much, obviously, but he will come on because he's a clever player. He just had a bad game. And if you want to say that about, he can't play because of that, then have a look at Thiago, Fabinho, Henderson. They were all pretty terrible. So I don't think it'll be a sort of matter of concern. It'll be Jesus, glad we got that one out of the way. And the thing about this as well, and this I'm going to be accused of mediocrity here, is a draw so much better than a defeat, and we did not deserve to draw that game. They should have beaten us.
Yeah.
And I think there'll be the tiniest plus from that. I'm not saying it's acceptable because Liverpool beat Fulham. That's what happens always. That's what should happen. But we just didn't read the script, or we weren't up to the script. And as a thespian yourself, Trev, you'll know what I mean by that. They just didn't put the performance out on stage.
I remember I was in a production with an actor called Heathcote Pursuit.
Oh God, now it's spreading.
Oh, it's always been spreading. The WhatsApp group, you're gonna be utterly confused by the WhatsApp group for the next 2 months. Just random names thrown in.
Lisa Marie, there's something Karl said there that I actually found very heartening, and I think it's a good way for us to finish our footy chat, because one thing we know about Kloppo is he likes to play the team, right? So when he finds the team, he likes to play the team. And there is probably a fair argument for the fact that Bobby would be able to be very important for us off the bench, but maybe not as a starter, or maybe for a period of time. But it looks as if we're going to see our new boy get a run now in the team. You know what the team is with a trademark signal afterwards, because you don't even have to look at the lineup most weeks. One position may change, but other than that, it will be the team. And I think now Darwin Núñez may be in that. I find that very exciting because I see a lot of people getting very excited about writing off Luis Diaz already. I saw, and I think that's a silly thing to do, I saw the impact that he had on, that Darwin Núñez had on Mo Salah when he came on. I thought it was fantastic to watch.
Yeah, there's a partnership there, isn't it? You can tell straight away.
You could see he enlivened. So what I'm saying to you, Lisa Marie, is let's see the new team and watch the new team develop. There may be one more position there, maybe two in midfield. Maybe we will have a recruit, or maybe one of these kids that we've been talking about will step up and start doing the business in one of those 8 positions, because they're going to have to, I guess. So that's kind of exciting in and of itself, right?
It is. It is exciting. And yeah, I think seeing the impact that Darwin Núñez had coming in on Saturday, I really do think he'll start the match against Palace on Monday. I certainly hope he does. And, the Luis Diaz thing, I don't understand. Wasn't that long ago everybody was so excited about him and all the energy and whatnot that he brought. Just these fans can be just, I'm becoming more and more in tune to things that I've heard others sort of, complaining isn't really the right word, but noting over the last year or so that it's a weird thing. I mean, Diaz honestly he's still settling into the team, so to speak. So I think the combination of having Diaz and Darwin Núñez and Mo up front is something to very much be excited about, and I'd like to think of that as the team moving forward. So yeah, I think our perception isn't really what is evolving. And we've talked about that some, over the last several months, as we've kind of seen not just, the induction of new players, but the fact that there are some, it used to be the team, we didn't have to look because it was a given as to just based on who was available and the talent and everything that we had, that, this is who it was going to be. Now with bringing in some of the players that we've brought in over the last year or so, there are, assuming people are well. I mean, if Jota was fit, there would be some arguments there. Okay, does Jota start? Does Diaz start? Does Darwin Núñez start? I mean, there's those options as to how the team is going to, I'm trying to not say it every other sentence, is going to set up. So yeah, I don't know that once we get people back from injury, it maybe isn't going to be as predictable. We're going to know that, it's going to be these, we'll say 15 names that he'll be picking from, but it may look a little different week to week. And I think that's good. I think it's good for us to keep our opposition guessing a bit.
Absolutely. And, little bit of context, we're only just getting going, and
exactly.
It's a long old run. It's a long old season, and who knows? We may revert to type and completely sack off the domestic cups this year just to really mess with people's minds. We may just hand them back in the third round of both competitions with sheer disdain. Who knows what we'll do? But also remember, and this is something that we have to keep in mind, this is going to be a mental season to out-mental all previous seasons, and that includes the season where we shut down with the Pox, the season we played behind closed doors because of same. This is going to be a season where in the middle of it, there's a freaking World Cup. And don't fool yourself that that's not going to take its place in the minds of many, many Premier League footballers as it approaches, and they are thinking about what it may be for them in terms of definitive career moments. So it's going to be a very fascinating thing. It could be a little bit of a car wreck once Liverpool emerge with a trophy or two. I don't mind. And hopefully that's exactly what we're going to do. Now, I have been watching the clock, and we are coming close to the 50-minute mark, which is where I said I keep. I don't want us going longer than the hour. So I might just defer my culture quiz. Despite the fact that I set it up with Tommy's little clip there, I might defer my culture quiz. So
no, do it, man.
Will we do it?
Yeah. Come on.
Have we time? You reckon?
I'm all right for a bit.
Okay.
Yep. I'm good.
It's funny. Karl, have you just
That is a vehicle outside the house as well, you know.
No, it's just I knew a fella called Cliff Bonanza who had terrible troubles like that.
Oh my.
Big friend of Duncan Clench.
Yes, and Clancy Moped. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. Now,
Nina Armenian. There's another one for you. Nina Armenian.
I'm going to mute the sound here as much as possible, and we're just going to go random. So, Karl, think of a number between 1 and 3, because whoever gets this number starts. A number between 1 and 3, including 1 and 3.
3. Fabino.
Lisa Marie?
1.
Karl, what do you think it might be? Right, Karl, you start.
Okay.
Which of the following foods is from Mexico? Injera, spelled Ingera. Banga, Banga. Mollets, Mollets. Pastilla, Pastilla.
I'll go with the first one.
Injera, says Karl. And I hit that and it says, no, apparently it's mollets.
No,
Next question. Which of the following plays, Lisa Marie, is not written by William Shakespeare?
Oh, come on.
Julie, you see, he always does this, by the way. Have you noticed? He's already getting his complaint in. Julius Caesar, Macbeth, Antigone, Much Ado About Nothing.
Antigone.
Is the correct answer.
And Lisa Marie can see Mexico, by the way, from her front door.
Well, yeah, that doesn't mean I can. I never took Spanish. I took French, by the way.
Right.
And yes, and I've actually read Antigone, thank you very much, 100 years ago in school.
Brilliant.
There you go. Karl,
You know what? I'm just realizing I've never done a quiz with Karl before.
that's why it's if you don't mind me saying, it's already quite fractious with the two of you. Question 3, your second one, Karl. Which cheese can be aged? Chèvre, Brie, Gouda, or Feta?
Interesting. Give me again. So the first one.
Which of these cheeses can be aged? Chèvre, spelled Chevre, Brie,
Goat cheese
Feta, or Gouda?
is a sheep's cheese. I'll say Gouda.
Gouda. Is it Gouda? Am I saying it wrong?
No, Gouda, I think. Well, Gouda is how we say it.
Yeah, Gouda is how I say it as well. And it's the correct answer. So I will give you that one. That's 1-1 after 3 questions. The fourth one, your second one, Lisa Marie. Which among the following is white wine? Zinfandel, Shiraz, Riesling, Sangiovese.
Riesling.
Riesling is indeed a white wine.
I used to drink it.
One of my favorites in the summer.
Oh, I see.
I used to drink it with Romney Crompton.
Which religion, Karl, has a cow as its holy animal? Buddhism, Judaism, Christianity, Hinduism.
It's Hinduism, isn't it?
It is. Now, with 5 questions asked, we go to question 6. Says, where is champagne created, Lisa Marie?
Wow.
Oh, Jesus. Karl, I'm sorry, man. I didn't know.
Yeah, I get the Mexican question. Lisa Marie gets the question. I'm an English graduate.
I'm waiting, Lisa Marie, wait till you hear these options. Is it in Rome or Munich or Stockholm or Champagne?
Oh, wow. I'm gonna Champagne.
Yeah, you got it. So at this point, we are 3-2, Lisa Marie. Question 7.
Trev's won. That's what's happened here.
I probably will win. I'll come in late at the end here and win. Which country? Oh, Karl.
Go on.
Which country has mariachi bands? Italy, Puerto Rico, Chile, or Mexico?
I've never heard the word.
You don't know what a mariachi band is?
No.
Really?
If you tell me what it is, I can guess from there.
No, we can't tell you.
No, I was gonna say I don't know that I can explain it without giving away the answer.
What are the options again?
So mariachi bands come from Italy, Puerto Rico, Chile, Mexico?
Mexico.
Well, for a guess, that's very good. That's correct.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what they are.
You absolutely know
I
what
don't,
mariachi
honestly. I've
bands
never
are.
heard the word before. I've never heard that word before, ever.
I'm going to send you several pictures or a video afterwards. You will know. Lisa Marie, name the traditional dance of the Hawaiian people. God, I have to give you the options here. Is the traditional dance of Hawaii belly dancing? Is it the waltz? Is it the rumba or hula dancing?
It is hula dancing.
Now, at this stage, am I right in saying that that's you 4-3, yes?
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be correct.
That means that you must score, Karl, here, and that Lisa Marie must not.
Go on, give me the Tennessee question.
Interesting. Karl, in which culture is coffee a religion? England, Kenya, America, Cuba.
I imagine it's Kenya.
Is that your final answer?
Well, no. Now you've said that.
I was going to say, I think he's messing with you.
I think it's Kenya.
I was desperately trying to get you to reconsider here.
Yeah, Kenya.
God damn it. It's Cuba.
Oh, is it?
I'm trying to help you, pal.
I totally would have guessed Kenya.
So,
is that what Kikini Balamalam used to drink on set?
I'm not sure, but it seems like it.
How about Wax Barnett?
Which, Lisa Marie, let's just see if you can finish it out. Which of these is a staple food for Canadians? This was news to me.
Oh, for God's sake.
Potato, beans, super pretzel, wheat and dairy.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, I don't know what that means, this question.
Food.
Which of these is a staple food to Canadians? I'm going to go and ask a Canadian immediately after this. Is a staple food of Canada potato, beans, super pretzel, wheat and dairy?
Just because it's given as an option, I'm going to have to say super pretzel.
I mean, I think it's a valid guess. Apparently, it's wheat and dairy. I don't know what that means.
Okay.
But it does mean that you won by the slenderest of margins. So Karl can feel slightly better about himself, and we can all finish the show on a slightly upbeat note, because I know how fractious these things get. We should start finishing up. Is there anything that you wanted to mention before we go, Lisa Marie? Anything you wanted to plug or sign off with?
I just want to say that I'm not on board with these Monday night games because that puts them on Monday afternoon, and that's a very difficult watch for me. So
yes, anyway. Bad form. Bad form. And in fact, I definitely won't be able to watch the Crystal Palace match because I'm going to be at a doctor's appointment with my daughter. So yeah, boo, hiss, Premier League. But no, nothing else. Just, keep the faith, people. We've played one match. Keep the faith. I think that's fair. And Karl, for yourself, anything you want to finish up with?
I'm going. It's been nice to be back at Anfield.
Nice.
And not really looking forward to the drive back, to be honest. Would be quite nice to sleep at some point. But it's just football's great. Big fan.
Big fan of the football myself.
I do feel like saying, was it Mr. Burns says, how about that local sports team?
Yeah, generic banter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, we should wrap it up there at this stage. We've hit more or less the hour mark. It's been nice to catch up with Karl and Lisa Marie and to reflect on what was it, like I say, a little bit of a fractious week in the Liverpool, excuse me for saying this, family. And yet, to be fair, I think we've emerged from this show with general positivity. So hopefully,
for God's sake.
Well, yeah, most of them are fractious. We do our best. We do our best to shine a bit of light and not be too gloomy. At least not after game 1. Wait till at least game 4 before you break out the gloom. And then I'll join you if that is the case. But until then, we will leave you for now and say goodbye. And we'll meet up with us next week because we're trying to grow this show. You may not or may be aware of it. The more ears we get on it, the better. If you enjoyed it, pass it on to a friend. Let them know about it. it's great to hear, which I have been doing, that it is growing in listenership and that people are telling other people about it and enjoying the general chat that we have here. So if you do like what you hear, pass it on to somebody else and let them know about it. So for this one, from myself, Trev Downey, from Lisa Marie Hanahan, and from Karl Coppack, good luck. We'll see you next week.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at anfieldindex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.